Hello, dear students. My name is Shoyre Kutbidinova. I'm an English teacher of Uzbek-Finnish Pedagogical Institute. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about what is text analysis and what is the text. So, text analysis. Textual analysis is a broad term for various research methods used to describe, interpret, and understand text. All kinds of information can be gleaned from a text, from its literal meaning to the subtext, symbolism, assumptions, and values it reveals. And the methods used to conduct textual analysis depend on the field and the aims of the research. It often aims to connect the text to a broader social, political, cultural, and artistic context. Textual analysis is the method of communication researchers use to describe and interpret the characteristics of a recorded or visual messages. So the purpose of textual analysis is to describe the content, structure, and functions of the message contained in the text. The important considerations in textual analysis include selecting the types of text to be studied, acquiring appropriate text, and determining which particular approach to employ in analyzing them. And there are two general categories of text: transcript of communication, verbatim recordings, and outposts of communication, messages produced by communicators. In terms of acquiring the text, outposts of communication are more readily available than the transcripts. So we analyze the title, the author, the place and time of publication, or the style, the scientific, popular scientific, or publicistic, and the type of the text, description, its narration or reasoning, and the theme, what about is it, the problem, attitude to something or somebody or interrelations, and the main idea, and composition, for example, the introduction, the main part, and the conclusion, and the summary of the message, and the language or own opinion. So in linguistics, the term text refers to the original words of something written, printed, or spoken in contrast to a summary or paraphrase, and coherent stretch of language that may be regarded as an object of critical analysis. So the text linguistics refers to a form of discourse analysis, a method of studying written or spoken language that is concerned with the description and analysis of extended texts, those beyond the level of a single sentence at least. And text can be in any example of written or spoken language, from something as complex as a book or legal document to something as simple as the body of an email or the words on the back of a cereal box. In the humanities, different fields of study concern themselves with the different forms of text. Literary theorists, for example, focus primarily on literary text, novels, essays, stories, and poems. Legal scholars focus on legal texts such as laws, contracts, decrees, and regulations. And cultural theorists work with a wide variety of texts, including those that may not typically be the subject of study, such as advertisements, signage, instruction, manuals, and other ephemera. So what is text definition? So traditionally, a text is understood to be a piece of written or spoken materials in its primary form, as opposed to a paraphrase or summary. A text is any stretch of language that can be understood in context. It may be as simple as 1-2 words or as complex as a novel. Any sequence of sentences that belong together can be considered a text. Text refers to a content rather than a form. For example, if you were talking about the text of Don Quixote, you would be referring to the words in the book, but not physical book itself. Information related to a text and often printed alongside it, such as an author's name, publisher, the date of publication, etc., is known as a paratext. So the idea of what constitutes a text has evolved over time. In recent years, the dynamic of technology, especially social media, have expanded the notion of the text to include symbols such as emoticons and emojis. A sociologist studying teenage communication, for example, might refer to texts that combine traditional language and graphic symbols. Now let's talk about the interrelation of text and new technologies. So the concept of the text is not a stable one. It is always changing as technologies for publishing and disseminating text evolve. In the past, texts were usually presented as printed matter in bound volumes such as pamphlets or books. Today, however, people are more likely to encounter texts in digital space where the materials are becoming more fluid. So according to the linguists David Barton and Carmen Lee, text can no longer be thought of as relatively fixed and stable. They are more fluid with the changing affordances of new media. In addition, they are becoming increasingly multimodal and interactive. Links between texts are complex online, and intertextuality is common in online texts as people draw upon and play with other texts available on the web. So the text linguistics is a field of study where the texts are treated as communication systems. The analysis deals with the stretch of language beyond the single sentence and focuses particularly on text. Information that goes along with what is said and written. Context includes such things as the social relationship between two speakers and correspondents, and the place where the communication occurs, and nonverbal information such as body language. Linguists use this contextual information to describe the social cultural environment in which a text exists. Now let's see examples and observations. In recent years, the study of text has become a defining feature of a branch of linguistics referred to as text linguistics. And the text here has central theoretical status. Texts are seen as language units which have a definable communicative function characterized by such as principle as cohesion, coherence, and informativeness, which can be used to provide a formal definition of what constitutes the textuality or texture. On the basis of these principles, texts are classified into text types or genres, such as road signs, news, reports, poems, conversations, and etc. Some linguists make a distinction between the notion of text, viewed as a physical product, or and discourse, viewed as a dynamic process of expression and interpretation whose function and mode of operation can be investigated using the psycholinguistic or social linguistic as well as linguistic techniques. Now let's talk about 7 principles of textuality. The 7 principles of textuality: cohesion, coherence, intentionality, acceptability, informativity, situationality, and intertextuality demonstrate how rich every text is connected to a knowledge of world and society, even a telephone directory. Since the appearance of the introduction to the text linguistics, by Robert de Bourgrand and Wolfgang Dressler in 1981, which used these principles as its framework. We need to emphasize that they designate the major modes of connectedness, not linguistic features of text artifacts, nor the borderline between text and versus non-text. The principles apply wherever an artifact is textualized, even if some judge and the results incoherent and unintentional and unacceptable and so on. Such judgments indicate that the text is not appropriate, suitable to the occasion, or efficient, easy to handle, or effective, helpful for the goal. But it is still a text. Usually, the disturbance of irregularities are discounted or at worst construed as signals of spontaneity, stress, overload, ignorance, and so on, and not as loss or denial of textuality. Now we are going to talk about the types of text. A text is a piece of writing that you read or create. The type of or the characteristics of a text are very important for any work of summarization on it. It is easy to select the main ideas from certain types of text, as the narrative one, text telling a story, and then from others such as expository text speaking about. The types of text depend on their purpose, structure, and language features. One of the most commonly used classification text materials is that one based on text purpose and meaning. In this classification, there are three main categories: expository text, narrative text, and argumentative text. The expository category, the non-fictional text has specific role to inform or to teach the readers. They can come from in a various formats depending on the area of use. So business, reports, letters, executive summaries, journalism, essays, news reports, press releases, sport news. The technical communication, the guides, technical report, the standards, academic and scientific communication, textbooks, student guides and scientific reports, scientific journals, articles, encyclopedia articles, and general reference book, encyclopedia articles or online or multi-domain informative text, the Wikipedia articles. A narrative text entertains, instructs, or informs readers by telling a story. Narrative texts deal with the imaginary or real world and can be fictional. Fairy tales, novels, science fiction, horror or adventure stories, fables, myths, legends, and etc. And fictional are articles, newspapers, reports, and historical writings. So argumentative texts aim is to change the reader's beliefs. They often contain negative qualities or characteristics of something or someone, or try to persuade their readers that an object, product, idea is in some way better than others. You should note that few texts are purely one type. Expository or argumentative text can contain narration or evaluative elements. Remember that the text types refer to the meaning, the writing, and they should not be confused with writing or other materials. Formats, book, article, letter, report, essay, and etc. So here you can see your home assignment. So what is the text? What is the text analysis? And what are the types of text? And I'm going to ask you to find some small text on expository, narrative, and argumentative text. Now let's watch a video about the text analysis.
When we use the analysis in PEDAGOGIKA, we make connections, ask questions, and use the text as a focus. About the object graph, is effective, and we can cast characters, themes, and arguments. Analysis to use the text. Text analysis allows us to respond to and learn about triggers of text. These results must include patterns of text and support ideas and rules that are made. When you analyze the text, there's no right or wrong answer. Text analysis allows us to summary, receipt of the text or read it anyway. It's so much more. After reading the literature or about the text, you must choose your analysis topic. Maybe you'll focus on the characters and the connections between them. Perhaps you'll concentrate on the theme of the author's purpose to help you compare the overall message to the events that occurred in the story. You can discover the information provided in the article and be supported. How to decide where to put the text is up to you in your analysis. Once you've chosen your topic, comment and write a question or thesis statement. This will help you focus your writing. Let's look at an example. You can organize the story and love your workshops and struggles in school. Write subjectivity, how to present the story, academic characters. Before writing, you will have to ask the ideas. Location in California, Trisha wanted so badly to read, and her text said most of college don't want to read. It also says they educate under her. So she gives her to track that for eligible work in California, which offers like a going to read and comments that and find to choose that character. Once all the text subjects have been indicated, all you need to do is to start writing. As you write, be sure you're looking at the right question and using the patterns from the text.
So the lesson is over. See you next time. Thank you for your attention.